Good morning. Happy Friday. Welcome to Forward Friday with my lovely host, Melissa Levine and Danny Green. Oh my gosh, it just rhymed, y'all. And then we have our special guest today, Beckett. So here at Forward Friday, every Friday at 9:30, we are here to help you move forward and navigate through life that is all about discussing leadership, mindset, life balance, career, spirituality. I mean, I could go on because as women, these all are not just sub subjects, they are like high priority subjects. So that's what we bring to the table. And this morning, we have such an important conversation. Who doesn't want to talk about self worth? Yep, no hands did not go up, right? That is such an important aspect of how we exist in the world. But before we move on, we always like to talk about top of mind. So I'm going to go ahead and ask our lovely co host to get that started. Danny, what is top of mind for you, my lovely?
I'm thinking back to the time on October 31st, 2013, where I sat at my kitchen table, just wondering if God was with me,
Mm.
what I was bringing to the world. There seemed to be people that were against me and my message, and I read a book called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. And in that, he said, the part we create from is unsullied and incorruptible. The part we create
Mm.
from cannot be affected by anything our parents did or society did. And all of a sudden, what I was facing became secondary to who I was on the inside. Like my whole psyche changed. I'm like, who I really am cannot be affected by anything I go through. Well, I stayed in that work situation for a couple more years. And then when we went to India for our daughter's wedding and learned the meaning of the word namaste, the divine in me celebrates the divine in you, my entire world changed. It's like, oh my goodness, each of us are divine and no one can take that away from us and nothing can ever change that. And so my message to the world is I know it doesn't feel like you're okay because of all the struggles you're going through, but in the core of who you are always okay. You've always been okay.
Mhm.
You will always be okay. You're okay today. And so then I help people just go home inside themselves, find their own divinity, and just feel so strong and have all the power and wisdom to do everything that they need to do. But then on the other hand, just do it the best you can every day. That's good enough. You don't pressure yourself, don't stress yourself out, because I believe in the timing of all things as well. So just access your own divinity, and it's just a beautiful way to live. All right, so that's my top of mind every day that I wanted to share with you today, especially about
Good
self-esteem and
morning.
self-worth, because we all have so much in us if we can learn to just you know close not only all the noise in the world, but even the chaos in our own mind, because our logical brain is really kind of fussy and fussy, and we just need to go deeper spiritually to figure out who we are. That's my top of mind.
That is a happy Friday. Good morning to you. Coffee shot of love right there. Like seriously, because I think today is the first day of quarter two, which may not mean anything to anybody, but that's a big deal in business. And just to be reminded, you are home. I'm done. Bye. No, just kidding. Okay, Miss Melissa, what about you? What's on top of your mind today?
Oh, I love seeing people in the chat. Good morning, Diane. Good morning, Cindy.
Cindy.
Um, let's see. I didn't have anything planned today. So I guess for me, on top of my mind right now is just I had a really rough last couple days because just was struggling with some depression. I don't know if it was that I was back home in LA and, seeing everyone. And it was so wonderful. I got to meet Beckett in person. We've known each other on Zoom for like the last couple of years. And like just being able to see people again, it was just like so. And so I'm a really empathic person and I'm noticing. And so I get really bogged down with feelings. So that's just on top of my mind today. I love just sharing people like Beckett with the world. So I'm really excited. She's got some amazing things going on in the world today. I mean, just her heart and her passion. So I'm so excited to have her here with us today and to introduce her to you all.
And I think that's like the best sense of worth is that we never do life alone, right? We have each other. And I mean, Zoom, yes, we're all forced to Zoom on each other and love each other. But I think like that whole face to face is such a important aspect of our lives too. I'm so grateful that you got a chance to go back and be kind of home because that when you said home, I thought you meant home like the home you're in right now, of like, oh, I miss California, but home is California. So, my top of mind today comes from the famous mythologist Joseph Campbell. And he says, we must let go of the life we have planned so as to accept the one that is waiting for us. And that kind of brings home what Danny was saying, because really we are the home. We are home. And I think this whole planning thing, I'm a huge planner, but it's really to just keep me in line of because I get distracted so easily. Oh my gosh, shiny. So the plan just keeps me like on the path, but really I'm always about surrendering and letting go and accepting and embracing and bringing in. And I think as we head into this, the second quarter of the year, that is my mantra. Let go of the life I planned and accept the one that's waiting for me. Ba-boom. Happy Friday. So here, let's introduce our fabulous Beckett Arnold. And go ahead and tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and your fabulousness.
Well, thanks for having me, you guys. Yeah, I am a designer of many trades. Mostly I do websites, but I do all kinds of graphic design as well, as well as a little bit of digital art and things like that. Kind of like all around creative, and I'm also a creative empowerment coach and community leader.
Cool. And what do you bring for us today in your wisdom and all of your expertness?
Well, I love your first question about what's top of mind, because when Melissa asked me what I wanted to present to the group today as the topic for discussion, that's been top of mind for me for like weeks and weeks and weeks. Because as creatives, and I work with lots of creatives on a very consistent basis, and I've been in creative fields my whole life. So, I'm very familiar with just how creatives think and how we operate, especially as business owners. And it's something that comes up in our group discussions all the time is, how do I charge what I'm worth? How do I feel good about doing that? Because as artists, we're always told that what we give is not valuable. Like everybody loves to look at art. They love to consume it in all kinds of mediums, but people don't necessarily want to pay for it. So societally, we're conditioned to devalue ourselves. And that's especially true of those of us who were born female. So it's something that comes up on a constant basis. And I'm actually putting together a workshop based around that because it's, like I said, it's been on my mind for quite a while now.
I mean, that's beautiful, right? Do you guys agree with you ladies? Got to get that guy's word out. Do you ladies, how do you feel about what she's saying in terms of creatively? That is, I want to be creative. My creative isn't in the art field, but I love art. my son is, and I could see what you're saying in sense of that struggle of like, what would it be worth? Because it's so natural, right? It's such a natural thing. But that's how I feel about my own business. If I could do it for free every day, I would. I love it so much. But then it's like, oh, wait, do you want water coming out of your faucet? You know?
Yeah.
So and what got you into this field? Where did that sort of birth from?
That's an interesting question. Well, like I said, I've been a creative for most of my professional career. I started in advertising, and then from there I moved into design and acting, and then I was a circus performer for 10 years. And you know, still kind of wanting to get back into that, but COVID put a big, you know, screw in that,
Mm-hmm.
as it did for most things for most of us. But yeah, so basically in 2018, I went and I did a circus training, intensive for circus professionals in New York.
Wow.
And what I found there was a creative arts community that was so welcoming and supportive and uplifting. And being from Los Angeles and being a creative here my whole life, we don't have anything like that. Like it's all, and it might be a symptom of Hollywood and just the rat race of it all. It's all very competitive, regardless of what field you're in creatively. So I wanted to bring a little bit of that community back here. And the vision started as a communal space for artists to come and create. And that's still on the plan. But in the meantime, because of COVID, we've had to just keep things virtual for now. And so it kind of morphed into you know, how can I serve this community before we have the physical location? That's kind of how it was born.
Wow. I mean, and it goes back to let go of the life we planned to accept the one that is waiting for us.
Yes, yes, and absolutely, because we were supposed to open a physical space on March 15th of 2020.
Oh my gosh.
It was the day that the lockdown orders went into effect in Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it is very much about like letting go of expectations and embracing whatever comes along.
Right.
Being adaptable.
Oh,
absolutely. And in terms of like self-worth, right? Because I think that's a struggle that I think no matter what industry has really confronted in the last 2 years, right? Like, and I think as women, it's still emotionally tethered to us. Regardless of like whether we've had success in this 2-year period or we've taken a lull or taken like, I'm going to take a rest, I'm going to take a break, or I'm going to I know so many people who are like, I'm selling everything, getting in my RV or in a car and I'm out. And I think we're redesigning or maybe rewriting the rules of self-worth. How does that fit into everything that you're creating in the world today in terms of that's really the subject at hand today?
Yeah, I mean, it's really true. We've had to re-examine as a culture, as a society, as a country, how we view work and what it even means to be a worker in this current condition. And I think that that's led to a lot of people coming up against this exact topic. Like, well, you know, I am worth more than $10 an hour or whatever. Like my skills, my expertise, my time, my energy is worth more than that. And it's really interesting seeing what's been going on and just kind of like watching. And I'm like Melissa, I'm also an empath. So I kind of soak in a lot of the vibes of what's going on. And I feel like a lot of people are starting to wake up to that fact now. And whether or not it bleeds into the art community, because it is a prevailing symptom within just like as an artist, is yet to be determined. But at least as workers, we're starting to realize more what we're worth as human beings.
For sure.
So how do you guys think we teach children self-worth? Because like, okay, so my daughter, she said, I want to make some money. Can I clean your car? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, well, how much will you pay me? And so I was like, well, I said, why don't you do the work and then, kind of figure out, how it was for you, if you enjoyed it, if you hated it, like, like what kind of experience did you have, and how long did it take you? And then say, this is this is how much you owe me, and so she was like, well, so you're going to pay me hourly? And I'm like, no, I'm going to pay you what you're worth. I'm going to pay you what you think you're worth. So you decide if you think it's worth $200, then charge me $200. If you think it's worth 20, charge me 20. Like, so I don't know. What do you think, ladies? Like, how do you teach kids self-worth?
That's an interesting question. Go ahead, Danny, you had something.
Well, I think it's so great that you just left it open, because the whole time she's cleaning the car, she's just going to be thinking about what you told her. And then you have a great opportunity at the end to keep talking about it.
Yeah.
And yeah, good job, Mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job.
And I think too, in terms of like Beckett's world of creatives, that is because there's not a defined space, right? Like, oh, I'm going to work at Dunkin' Donuts or something. It's a very defined space. There's an hourly rate. There's an actual, general amount that's being paid at that level. But as a creative, I think there's so much more to be expressed in that way of payment. So I'm curious about that in terms of like kids too, because they're in that same space. They don't know. Like her daughter's like, well, I want to make some money, but I don't know what to charge. But do you feel like that also happens with creatives where they're pouring in everything and then they don't know what to charge? And then where do you go from there?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. It's difficult because like you're saying, like it's not a traditional career path where there's an entry point and you start at a certain level and then you work your way up. That's not how being a creative works. And,
Right.
but to your point earlier, wonderful, about like, I am of the opinion that everybody can be creative. It doesn't matter what industry or field you're in. Like anything can be a creative field. And especially for those of us who are entrepreneurs and own our own business, because we have to be creative about it constantly.
Right.
But yeah, it's a struggle for a lot of artists specifically because there's no agency telling you, oh, this kind of painting is worth X, or this kind of, a video service is worth whatever. So you have to kind of gauge that on your own. And that leads to a lot of self-doubt.
But it goes back to the point of Melissa, maybe like, let's say she does charge you $200, right? And you're kind of like, oh, well, you vacuumed. That's awesome. But it also, I think it helps her negotiate that effort of like, well, I think it's worth 200 because blah, da, 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 whatever that is. I was just thinking that when Beckett was saying how, with artists, because really you can negotiate the price if somebody disagrees and says, well, I don't know if I like your art that much to be paying that much, but actually you can really, that's where the storytelling comes in, right? Of the experience and of how it's come to fruition, which I love to hear that part of everybody's story. Like, how did you come to be who you are? Why are you here? What are you doing?
Yeah, and a lot of people who are consumers of art, they just see a sticker price and they make a judgment based on that. But they don't see all the hard work that went in for years and decades before that to get to that level. And what a lot of artists, I think, get hung up on is my work should be for everybody. But that is just not the case. Like you're going to have people who dislike your work and it doesn't vibe with them, and that's okay. Like art is for the people who appreciate it. And there's, no matter what level you're at, no matter what you're creating, there's going to be somebody out there for you. You just have to find them. So not every consumer is going to be for you. So if they're not valuing your work at the level that you feel like you deserve, that's okay. Move on.
Yeah, that's always a great reminder to get unstuck from that place of like, well, but she doesn't like me or he doesn't like me. I don't, right? Because I don't think it has anything to do with being liked.
Well, yeah, and as a designer, I come up against a few every now and then. Like I like to, I'm pretty good at what I do, so I like to say, everybody's satisfied with my work, but that's not always the case. Like every once in a while, I get a client who's not happy with what I've provided, and I try to do everything in my power to kind of, rework it and, come to a consensus between the two of us. And that's what it is, working one-on-one with people. But for the most part, when you're going to get people who are going to be dissatisfied, and that is also okay. And that's not a failure on your part, because art doesn't resonate with everybody.
And I'm glad you talked about vibe, because really vibe matters so much. I mean, there's some people that we really, automatically almost feel aligned with, and the consciousness that went into the art piece is literally, radiating out from each one, and people can kind of step into it and feel the vibe, and it really connects with them, and others don't. But it's more about, like the consciousness that created. And you guys are all the creatives in all of our fields. We're contributing to the evolution of the human family by being who we are. So, and the planet.
Danny, always with your wisdom. I love it. And now it makes sense why I keep all of my children's artwork, not their paperwork, not even like the stories, but artwork. Literally, my walls are littered with them. And my kids are always like, when are you going to take that down? I did that when I was 6. But now explaining that whole vibe thing, it's because really every time I look at it, it's not the art, it's that vibe they gave at that time that they created it, when they were so pure and unhindered. And now it's like, that's why I keep it all.
It's a capture of consciousness from that time.
Yeah.
What was going through their head when they were that age at that very moment to create something like that. So yeah, I completely understand.
And I guess it makes sense with art. Like when you said circus, I grew up watching. I love the circus. I used to always look at the human body and go, wow, can I do that? I mean, of course, it takes years of practice, but I think that is I think we need to revive that whole essence of human movement. Not just in workouts or trying to be buff, but actual human fluidity of the movement. Because that's what I feel like the circus has always been entertaining for me when I looked at it as a kid. Like, wow, that is so cool. And I have a friend who's a fire breather person. I'm always like in awe of it. And I think we need to bring all of that back, not for entertainment, but for awe of what a human being are capable of.
Well, and also for fun. Like that's the best part about being in the circus, is that it's fun. Like it keeps you in shape, but it's also you don't realize you're working out when you're doing it, because it's so much fun. And I think we need to allow ourselves more space to play, because especially as adults, we feel like, oh, play is for kids, I don't need to do that. But I coach my creatives all the time about giving themselves time and allowance to work on things that are just for them and just to enrich them as artists, rather than to make a buck, because we've been convinced by society that we need to be always spending our time on things that make us money. And as such, a lot of artists get trapped in that. And this is why, we call certain musical artists sellouts, because they're not being true to their spirit as artists anymore when they're just in it to make $1. So you need to give yourself time and space to explore the things that nurture you as an artist or a creative or a business owner.
I love that word, enrich. Like I think that's a really great way for us to look at exercise in a different way. It enriches the soul. It enriches the body, right? Because I think there's, the 2000s have been so much about workout, get fit, and now it's turning into more of this holisticness thing. But what if it was just fun and enriching? I would do that workout all day, every day, right? Like, oh, I'm going to go on an enriching walk today because it's just fun.
And I think that that's part of what the pandemic has shown us is that we need more in our lives than just the hustle and grind. We need things that make us feel human.
Oh, bomb drops.
Yeah. I talk to my clients about doing something for self-care every day, something for yourself. Because you feel so much stronger when you've taken a few minutes or a half an hour to, meditate or move, or I tell them make healthy food, just anything for yourself, where when you come away with it, just like the art that you're suggesting your clients make, you come away with it feeling just like stronger and more settled, more grounded, more ready to face the day. So yes, self-care is so important.
Well, and I think too, it makes you a better business owner when you actually look at it from the space of hustle is crap. Let me just put that out there. That is just not a way to evolve and scale and grow and be successful. I think fun and enrichment is just the way to go, right? If it's not fun, walk away. Just stop doing it. It doesn't matter like if you're gonna, because really if you lose money, you're gonna gain it somewhere else. Because why be miserable and make money?
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. So I mean, I would love to do a circus class. Serious. So what is entailed in that?
You should collab.
What does that mean? Give me a kind of I can't wrap my head around it other than just having fun and running around and
Yeah, it comes in different forms. The studio that I used to teach at that had to close unfortunately because of COVID, we started you at the aerial yoga level. So you start with an aerial yoga class. You kind of get used to the movement within the fabric and being a little bit off the ground. And then once you feel more comfortable, then you can move into the more, the more playful aspects, which aerial yoga, not to say that it's not playful because it definitely is, but the more, what you would think of when you think of like Cirque du Soleil, that kind of stuff. So just getting your feet wet, getting a little bit more comfortable in that space in 4 dimensions or 3 dimensions, whatever you want to, then kind of progressing from there. But it depends on where you're starting and what the prerequisites are. Some of them might require you to take like a movement or a tumbling class first. Some of them might require you to, might have no requirements. You can just show up and climb a silk on your day 1. So if you're thinking about getting involved in that, then just research studios in your area and see how people are starting their new students and see if that's something you're comfortable with.
That's awesome. Yeah, I would love a PDF that you've created that gives me an idea of what to ask and look for when I'm looking for these circus classes. Just an idea. Because we don't live in the same state.
Right.
And I don't know the first thing to look for when I want to do a class like that. So,
I mean, like we were saying earlier, it's all about vibes. Like that's why take an introductory course at a studio near you and see if you vibe with their method and their the way that they're doing things, the people who work there, the aesthetics I think are also important, because if you walk into a studio and it's just a cement warehouse, how does that feel for your vibe?
Yeah, not awesome. I feel like, great, I'm going to work out. That's what I'm going to feel, not doing it. So that's what putting that all together makes so much sense. I think that's why everybody's individual idea of, fun is so important to have a conversation around, because there are lots of people just like me who think about it but don't know where to start. And the only thing I've ever known is I'm a martial artist. So to me, when I think aerial, I think, ooh, that'd be kind of cool to do twisty things and then kick someone. But where do I go for that, right? Because I've learned the traditional form of martial arts where you don't do twisties or jumps. So I love gaining more information from people who have a different experience in life. That's what this is about, ladies. Friday is about that. Again, with the word, enriching our lives with new people that have a different way that they exist and infuse us with that beauty and that knowledge. So thank you so much. And how do we find you? Oh, I see something up here. Dragonfly Arts. Ooh.
Yeah, so that's our little artist community, is Dragonfly Creative Collective, and we're Dragonfly Arts on all platforms. So this link that Melissa has shared is actually to join our kind of like founding member VIP group. So, we have other offerings for you to start from, like just getting in our Facebook group is a good place to start, which is just Facebook/group/Dragonfly Arts group. Dragonfly Arts, just Dragonfly Arts. But we're on Instagram, we're on Meetup as LA Arts and Creatives Collective. So we're all over the place.
Good job. That's amazing.
Wait, which one are you? The Dragonfly Arts and Creatives Collective or the Dragonfly Crafts?
Dragonfly Arts and Creatives Collective.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm in.
Yay.
Yay. Well, thank you so much. I think we're at time here. And thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for sharing your energy and your vibe with us. Thank you for enriching our morning with creatively having us rethink fun, right? And thank you for your time. Ladies, is there any last words that you'd like to share, or are we saying toodaloo?
Thank you so much, Beckett. I'm just going to keep the whole art community in my prayers. Just like, keep going. You're doing great. You really are enriching the world.
Agree. 100%.
Yay. Thank you, Beckett.
Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm going to end the broadcast, but you can stay on and chat with us if you have time.
Goodbye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend.
Have a good weekend.